To part one of comparing and ordering rational numbers. So we can compare and order and determine equivalent relationships among fraction decimals and percents. So compare the following using less than, greater than, or equal to. And remember, a rational number is any number that can be written as a fraction. So to compare, we can use cross products if given two fractions, or we can use the middleman. So in this first one, we have two fractions, so we can use cross products. So 5 times 5 is 25. 4 times 8 is 32. And how does 25 compare to 32? Good, it's less than. When comparing numbers written in different forms, we first convert to decimal. And that's that middleman idea. If you have a fraction or a percent, you can always change the decimal. Now, some people prefer percents, so you can also change them both to percents if you like. But for our purposes in our notes, I'm going to be changing to decimals. So to change a percent to a decimal, move 2 to the left, 1, 2. So this is 625 thousandths. Do you know the decimal for 2/3? Good, it's 0.6 repeating. So I can go ahead and add two sixes here. Since it's repeating, I have to add sixes, not zeros. Now 625 thousandths is less than 666 thousandths. Okay, let's move right along. And it says order fractions, decimals, and percents. List the following in order from least to greatest. The steps are use the middleman and change all the decimals, or I also said you can change into percents. Stack to line up the decimals. Insert zeros if necessary if they don't have the same amount of places after the decimal. And then finally, order. So we're going to change to decimals. So do you know the decimal for 1/3? Good. It's 0.3 repeating. Okay, the decimal for 30%, we got to go 2 to the left. So you can just write 0.3 or 0.30. It doesn't really matter. This is already a decimal. And do you know the decimal for 3/8? 375 thousandths. Now, if you didn't know 3/8 off the top of your head, you would have to do long division. Okay, now we're going to stack these up. So I'm going to come down here and go in order that I just converted them. So 0.3 repeating, 0 and 3/10, 0 and 3/100, and 0 and 375 thousandths. Now I'm going to drop a 0 here, so it has 3. I need to drop 2 zeros here, so it has 3. And here, I'm not going to drop zeros, I'm going to drop 3s because it's repeating. Now they all begin with a 0. So now we can just look. We have 333 thousandths, 300 thousandths, 30 thousandths, and 375 thousandths. Which one is the smallest? Good. Which one would come next? Good. And what one would come next? Good. And last is this one. Now when you order them, okay, use what the original was, not what we converted them to. So here, okay, it was the third one, so it's 3/100. Then the second one was 30%. The third one was 1/3. And finally, 3/8 was the last one. So I'm going to box it in here. And there's my answer. Okay, moving right along, turn the page. And it says, which list of numbers is ordered from least to greatest? So if we look at this first one, we have 1/2, which is 0.5. We have 2.5, which is 2.5. We have 2/10, and we have 2/100. Now, clearly, what is the greatest out of all those? Good, 2.5. So this one does not have 2.5 as the greatest. And this one does not have 2.5 as the greatest. Now, it's between this. So we have 0.2, 0.5, or 200ths. Which one is the smallest? If you said 200ths, you are correct. So the correct answer is letter C. Okay, compare the following using less than, greater than, or equal to. So we can use the middleman here. So we have 38%. There's no decimals, so we start at the end of the number, 1, 2. We have 38 hundredths. Okay, 3/8, we have 375 thousandths. So I can drop a 0. How does 380 thousandths compare to 375 thousandths? Good, it's greater than. Okay, look at the next one. We have 875 thousandths, so that's already a decimal. And we need to change this to a decimal. And some of you are thinking, well, there's already a decimal in it, but there's a percent sign. So if there's a percent sign, then we need to change it to a decimal. Okay, so we have 0.0875. So I can add a 0 here. So we have 8,750 10,000ths or 875 10,000ths. So is this one greater or less than that? Good, it's greater than. Because if you compare 0.8 to 0.0, 0.8 is clearly bigger. Okay, 3/10 and 4/15. We can use our cross products trick. So 3 times 15 is 45. 4 times 10 is 40. And how does 45 compare to 40? Good, it's greater than. And the last one, 125%, 2 to the left. So we have 1 in 25 hundredths. And here we have 1 in 1/5. 1/5 can turn into a friendly fraction by multiplying top and bottom by 2. So we have 1 in 2/10, which is 1.2. Now they don't have the same amount of places, so I can add a 0. How does 1 in 25 hundredths compare to 1 in 20 hundredths? Good, it's greater than. Okay, let's take a look at one more example. Which decimal could be written in the blank to make this statement true? So what I want to do is change both of these to decimals. So is 2/7 a friendly fraction? It is absolutely not. So what we can do is the 2 drops down and 7 climbs the ladder. Can 7 go into 2? No, it goes in 0 times. 0 times 7 is 0. 2 minus 0 is 2. Put in a decimal, bring it straight up. Drop in 3 zeros. Now, when we're comparing and finding out what's in between, if we go to 3 numbers after the decimal, usually that's enough to compare. So let's bring down our 0. 7 goes into 20 2 times. 2 times 7 is 14. 20 minus 14 is 6. Bring down another 0. 7 goes into 60 8 times. 8 times 7 is 56. 60 minus 56 is 4. Bring down another 0, and 7 goes into 40 5 times. So now I have enough. I have 3 places after the decimal. So we can say that this is 285 thousandths. Now there's a trick for the 9s. The trick for the 9s is that the top number repeats. So anytime the denominator is 9, the top number repeats. So if this was 4/9, it'd be 0.4 repeating. If it was 7/9, it'd be 0.7 repeating. Since it's 2/9, it's going to be 0.2 repeating. So to make it have 3 places after the decimal, I can add 2's. So how does 285 thousandths compare to 222 thousandths? Okay. Oh, actually, sorry, we're finding in between. So which one of these is in between 285 thousandths and 222 thousandths? Is it 295? No. Is it 255? Yes. That is clearly in between 285 and 222. So the correct answer is B. That concludes our notes on part one of comparing and ordering rational numbers. I hope you have a great day.